Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Big Ben rips Pittsburgh Steelers' stubborn philosophy, "You've got to change." Legendary Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger does not understand the team's philosophy on defense. This comes after former New England Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman ripped the Steelers and Mike Tomlin's defense for not changing with the times. "You knew exactly what they were doing," Edelman said on the Games with Names podcast. "And they still do what they did. They still do the same goddamn shit as when I was playing Tomlin's defense. I'm like, we still have linebackers covering the 3 slot. Every time we play Steelers, I have at least 9 catches. You would think that they would change it. But no, they do what they do." Roethlisberger responded to that declaration by Edelman, stating there is some truth to what he is saying, and that he does not see the Steelers scheming things up like other teams. "There's definitely truth to it," Roethlisberger said on the Footballin' podcast. "If you don't, you've got to change with the times. We're not trying to confuse people like other teams do. Other teams are confusing people. Look at the end of that Chiefs-Bills game. Chiefs defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo sent a corner blitz. They sent it for the first time all game, in a situation where you would never expect it and you need it, and they come home." Roethlisberger is just the latest former player to call out the predictable scheme. In the past, Shannon Sharpe, James Harrison, and Steve Smith have all called out the predictable Steelers defense. Unique quarterback room is the only way to save the Steelers in 2025. The Steelers' quarterback room is once again one of the biggest question marks heading into the offseason. Both Russell Wilson and Justin Fields flashed at times, but they also failed to get this team over the hump. Both of their prices are set to increase this year as well, and the team is only likely to keep one of them. That said, I think there is a far better solution at quarterback for the team in 2025. Simply put, I don't think either Wilson or Fields is the long-term future for this team. Sure, they could serve as transitional options, but both play well enough to win games even if they aren't good enough to get this team back on track. So what should the Steelers do? The best option is to always draft and develop your franchise quarterback. Easier said than done, but when this pans out, you become a continual Super Bowl contender. Unfortunately, this draft class looks putrid at quarterback. I'm not sold on either top name, and even if I were, Pittsburgh is in no position to make a move for them. The crop afterward screams scheme-specific or career backup. This isn't a class that I think you can find your franchise option outside picking as late as the Steelers are. The best solution for the Steelers is to completely dismantle this quarterback room once again. While Fields gives them the best shot to win next year, while you can likely expect much of the same from Wilson, it won't move the needle for this team. They likely struggle in January but are good enough to not have a top pick to address quarterback. This upcoming free agency class features a crop of quarterbacks that came from a filled draft class 4 years ago. To this point, none of them have panned out. They have been traded and viewed as busts by most of the NFL given their immense struggles, and now they enter free agency for the first time. The Steelers should be buyers. One man's trash is another man's treasure, and for the trio of Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and Trey Lance, all 3 would be my target in the offseason. All 3 have the pedigree and traits you would look for in a starter, but they haven't put everything together yet. Jones is the most accomplished, but he also is the closest to his ceiling. He can work the short and intermediate game but struggles to push offenses forward. He is a game manager, but that could work in an Arthur Smith offense. Trey Lance was supposed to be the next big thing, but a poorly timed injury and the emergence of Brock Purdy led to him being dealt to the Cowboys, where he served as the third-string quarterback. He has the most tools of the 3, and he can win on the ground. Zach Wilson flamed out with the Jets before being dealt to the Broncos to serve as their backup this year. He has all of the arm talent you want, but his accuracy, pocket presence, and decision-making are bad. So why do I want all three of these options in the Steelers' quarterback room next year? Competition and desperation bring out the best in players, and you would have that with all three options. A true three-headed quarterback room is rare, but Pittsburgh lacks answers right now, so they should try to see what can stick for them. All three would like the chance to earn a starting role, and their best for that would likely be Pittsburgh. Jones will likely have the biggest market as he can be an accomplished backup if worst comes to worst, but none of these three should have an annual salary over $10 million. This keeps the quarterback room cheap while you try to sort all of this out. In turn, you can invest your resources to other needs, giving these players the best shot at turning their careers around. Once training camp opens, you rotate between the three to see who you want to start. The competition will naturally sort itself out, and whoever you feel the most confident with gets the start in week 1. From there, the leash is relatively short to keep competition alive. Your best-case scenario is one of these players pulls a Sam Darnold and revitalizes their careers. In that case, you have the franchise tag, assuming they are on one-year deals, and you can work on a new contract. More than likely, all three fall flat and this team will struggle in 2025. That isn't the end of the world though, as it puts you in a position to draft someone in a 2026 class that, right now, looks better at quarterback. Would love to team up with Coach Mike Tomlin, QB Jameis Winston interested in signing with Steelers. Quarterback Jameis Winston's next stop might be a short trip from Cleveland. A pending free agent and one of the top 5 options on the market, Winston is open to joining the Pittsburgh Steelers for the next chapter of his career. Joining Pardon My Take Wednesday, Winston was warm to the idea of playing for Mike Tomlin. I don't know what my Browns fans would say about me, about Pittsburgh, Winston told the show. It'd be challenging, but it really doesn't matter. If that opportunity presents itself, I would love to team up with Coach Mike Tomlin. Attending the Super Bowl and a visible face in the media, Winston has made his pitch throughout the week. From Philadelphia Eagles RB Saquon Barkley suggesting he should sign with the New York Giants, a dig at his old team, Winston is marketing himself as the page turns on Cleveland. The Browns don't seem likely to re-sign Winston, likely eyeing a cheap rookie contract to offset the anchor that has become Deshaun Watson's deal. Winston began the 2024 season as Watson's backup before being named starter after Watson's season-ending Achilles tear. Immediately, Cleveland's offense improved and made more splash plays than had did under Watson. Winston started 7 games, throwing for more than 2,100 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions on the season. 3 of those picks came against Pittsburgh, including one by Keanu Benton. Winston's affinity for the Steelers involves former coach Bruce Arians. I admire Coach Mike Tomlin so much, he said. The first Super Bowl ring I ever held in my hand was a 2008 Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl ring from Bruce Arians. So that definitely is aligned with my vision. Pittsburgh has a need at quarterback, but Winston would be an unlikely source to fill it. Even as a backup, Winston's volatile nature doesn't fit well with the Steelers' philosophy of taking care of the football and winning with defense. Winston has always been a gunslinger capable of making wow plays, including a long touchdown against Pittsburgh in their 2024 rematch, after upsetting the Steelers in the first meeting, but he makes just as many mistakes. Interceptions come in bunches and he's still remembered as the only quarterback in history to make the 30-30 club, throwing 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in 2019 with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He apparently had corrective eye surgery to repair his vision, but it hasn't done much to solve his turnover problem. The Steelers are competitive because they turn the ball over at low rates, and Winston's style doesn't mesh with that. Winston will be on a roster in 2025. He could win some games. But they won't be for the Steelers. And you, fan? What do you think of the Jameis Winston situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.